Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaraachaarya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. त्रैलोक्यनाथ हरिमीड्यमुदार सत्वं शक्तेस्तनूजतनयं परमेष्ठिकल्पं जीमूतमुक्तविमलाम्बरचारुवर्णं वासिष्ठमुग्रतपसं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्. So we were looking at the objections to the Mahavakya Tattvamasi raised by the Shishya. The Guru answers by saying that I am not saying this Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same, but it has been revealed by the Shruti, the Veda only. So Shrutishu Pratipaditam Asya Drishehe Paramatma Padatvam Amushu Drisham. So it has been said many times by the Shruti only. So in this context, the Acharya quoted different Shruti Vakyas to show that the Shruti is also revealing the same. So we saw that all this Amatam, Namatehe, Amataha, Tadidam, Yadam, each word here actually refers to a Shruti Vakya. We discussed all these things. And then the Acharya also took up the Kenopanishad. And in that, how the Atma has been revealed. And also finally, he also talked about the 6th chapter of Chandogya, Animadi Gunam Saditi Prakritam Tadasit Tvamiti Shrutihi Api Avadat. So Shruti also is saying this Sadvastu, which is the Jagat Karanam, Brahma, is nothing but you, Tvamasi. So up to this we saw that how Shruti is revealing this individual self is none other than the self or the conscious being, which is limitless and which is the cause of this entire world as we perceive it. Here, still there can be doubts, correct? How can there be so many conscious beings, so many individual cells? So how all these things are appearing? When so many things are there, and amongst them so many are sentient, how are you saying there is only one conscious being which is limitless, which is appearing as all these things? So this can be a problem, or this can be still it can be difficult to assimilate. So we take up this analogy of the Akasha. In fact, if you see, this analogy of Akasha is not only taken up by Totakaacharya here. This is there even in the Gita. If you take the 13th chapter, Bhagavan also uses the analogy of both the Akasha and also the sun reflecting in different reflecting mediums to show that one can appear as many. And the Akasha analogy also is very useful. Both sun and Akasha analogy are very useful also to know that even though the one is appearing as many, and the many appearances themselves can go through certain distortions and all that, correct? Because depending on the reflecting media, the reflection of the sun can be in different ways. Whether it is reflecting on some dirty water or clean water or convex surface or concave surface, and or it is going through a lens, the effect is very different, correct? Or if you take the Akasha, depending on whether it is conditioned by a small part or a big part and all that, you can have different volumes of space in all these things, correct? One Ghatakasha is is small, another Ghatakasha is big. In fact, my Guruji used to make a whole conversation with a pot in his hand, and it used to be so funny to just show that how people have complexes based on the assumption that they are a limited individual confined to a particular body, mind, sense complex. It is similar to the pot space, thinking that it is limited, correct, and confined by a pot. The reality is not that. The space itself is indivisible, really, and the division into pot spaces are all only as though divisions, correct? There is no real division in the space, and also the space also cannot be polluted or anything. There is no space pollution. Although nowadays we talk about a space pollution in the sense that people are sending so many satellites and all those things into the outer space, and there are a lot of debris going around, and we are afraid that something may crash back onto the earth and all that, correct? So they talk about, but that is not called pollution still, I think, whatever. But the idea here is space itself is untouched by any of these things. Now, this point also in the Gita, actually Bhagavan talks about this. If you take the Gita, in fact, in the Gita, the Paramatma is first revealed. Okay, Anaditvat Nirgunatvat Paramatmayam Avyayaha Sharirasthopi Kaunteya Nakaroti na lipyate. This is one verse. So this Paramatma is Anadi, beginningless means endless also, correct? It is limitless. And it is Nirguna. It doesn't have any guna, any quality, nothing. And it is Avyayaha also. It is unchanging, and it doesn't have any, it is a partless, unchanging whole. But it is also available in the Sharira. Sharirasthopi. Even though it is available in the Sharira, but it is not limited by it, or it is not tainted by the body, mind, sense complex in any manner. Like even the Akasha itself is not tainted by the pot or whatever is there within the pot. Okay, you can put some sambrani and make a smoke in the pot. The smoke is not going to taint the space, correct? In fact, that's what in the next verse in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it is in the end of the 13th chapter. You can go and refer. So Bhagavan says, Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatravasthito dehe tathatmanopalipyate. Like that, this Akasha is sarvagata, it is all pervading, but it is also subtle, saukshmyat. This all pervading Akasha being very subtle, it is not touched. Na upalipyate. It's not touched by anything. It cannot be polluted. It is not tainted. It is not divided by anything. Similarly, even though this Paramatma is there everywhere, sarvatra avasthitopi, in each and every body, mind, sense complex, the same Atma is available, is manifest in all the dehas. Okay, sarvatra avasthito dehe. Tathatma nopalibhyate. Similar to the Akasha, the Atma also is not tainted. So this Akasha analogy is used by Bhagavan in the Gita, but not only in the Gita. Also, our Gaudapadacharya also, if you take the Advaita Prakarana is there, third chapter you can say of the Mandukya Karika, he starts with this Akasha analogy only there. Because the third chapter Karika is very interesting. He starts by saying that those who do Upasana of Brahman as a Upasya, they are all like Kripana, he said. Because anything which is other than you, if you think that is Paramatma and Brahman and all that, you are like a miser. In fact, you are not able to own up to your own limitlessness, correct? You have, in fact, your loss is limitless. Even though Brahman is available, who is a miser? This word Kripana is very interesting. It is used in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It comes in Gita also. Karpanya doshopahatasvabhavaha Prichami Tvam, like that. Arjuna himself, he says, I have Karpanya dosha. Please take me as a Sishya and teach me and all that. So this Kripana word, Mysore is one, he is not a poor person, correct? Mysore does not lack the resources. Who is a Mysore? Even though one has everything, Mysore is not able to utilize it, correct? Neither for himself nor for anybody else. Such a person is a Mysore. So why the Ajnani is called a Mysore? Because you are the limitless, correct? You already have it with you, but you are not able to appreciate it or enjoy it. So that's why this Gaudapadacharya also says the same thing. He starts like that. And then he wants to say that this Paramatma, even though we see so many individual cells, it is not really born. The individual self is not a outgrowth, or it is not issuing forth from the Paramatma as a separate creation or anything, correct? So he's talking about Ajati, means nothing is really born. That is the Siddhanta he wants to establish. For that, again, he takes the Akasha. Okay, Akasha he takes, and then he tries to show that how this Akasha is not, you cannot say that the Mahakasha is born into Ghatakasha or anything, correct? So he takes his Akasha analogy and discusses it in 4 or 5 verses in the beginning of the 3rd chapter, the Advaita Prakarana. You can go and see that also, it's very interesting. So the same thing now here our Acharya also is talking about. So let us see that. Nabhaso vayavo vikritischa yatha ghatakadi nabho na bhavet tu tatha paramatmana yeshana cha vayavo vikritischa sharira bhriditya mrisha. Okay, nabhasaha avayavaha vikritischa yatha ghatakadi nabha na bhavet. So nabhasaha, nabhas means space again. Now ghatakadi nabha means what? The space which is found in a pot, etc. Any container. Okay, so different containers are there. Within each container there is a space. Now, how do you understand the space within the container? Do you say that it is a part of the total space? Or is it as a modification? Avayava, Vikriti, 2 things are there. Why we are talking about 2 things is this? Because there are theologies which talk about this Jivatma as either an Avayava of the Paramatma, correct? You are a part of the whole. That is the Vishittadvaita, you can say, part of the whole. Or you are a modification, you are separate from the Paramatma, but you came from there. Okay. So you are a modification. So these 2 contentions are there with reference to how the Paramatma, Jivatma are related. How do we understand the 2, the individual self and the total? Means you can either think of part-whole relationship or a modification, cause effect in terms of modification. Now both these things do not apply, really speaking, are not the reality with reference to the individual self and the totality. It is like part space and space. It is one and the same, really speaking, only from the standpoint of the conditioning factor, the upadhi. It looks like it is all different. There is no real difference. The difference is only due to the conditioning factor. Atma and space both being very subtle, they cannot be divided or tainted by any conditioning factor. So Ghatakadi Nabaha, Nabasaha Avayavaha Vikritischa Yatha na Bhavet. So like even the part space is not to be considered as a part or a modification of the space itself, correct? Similarly, Tatha what? Paramatmanaha Yeshaha Nacha Avayavaha Vikritischa. Yeshaha means this Jivatma, this individual self. This individual self similarly should not be taken or cannot be considered as a part or a modification of the Paramatma. Because both this part and modification thing is a problem. Because if you say Paramatma has parts, whatever has parts can be dismembered, correct? It can be destroyed. It will not be avikrita, avyayaha. Similarly, even if you say it is a modification also, it is change, it is subjected to change, means whatever is subjected to change is subjected to space time, it will become limited, it will become anitya, it will be destroyed again. So we cannot talk about either parts or modification of the Paramatma. It doesn't make any sense really. So Yeshaha Sharira Brit. So Sharira Brit is the one who is supporting this body, or one who is manifesting in the body, the individual conscious being, is not a part of the Paramatma nor a modification. That is the truth. Amrisha. Amrisha means false. Amrisha means it is not false, it is the truth. That is the truth of Paramatma Jivatma, and they are not really to be understood as whole and part, or a cause and effect where the cause is modified into the effect. Both these are not correct. Like even we understand the space. Now this same thing, our Mandukya Karika also, our Gaudapadacharya says, Atma hi akashavad jivaihi gatakashaihi eva uditaha. So Atma only is appearing in the form of jivas, like even the akasha appears in the form of ghatakashas. Ghatadivacha sangataihi jatau etan nidarshanam, he says. So like even this, all these bodies are like the parts. Okay. So whatever Atma which is manifesting in the body, it is similar to the space which is manifesting in the Ghata. But not only this, then he goes on to use that analogy even like to show how this birth and death and all is happening, correct? It is like whenever a pot is created, it is like a Jivatma is born, correct? The body is born. And in that whatever consciousness manifests, then we say that the individual is born. Then body is gone, like the Ghata also is gone. It can be destroyed easily. Then what do we say? The part space is gone, has died. Like that, this birth and death and all are like that only. In fact, there is no real birth or real death. That's the Ajativada he's talking about. There is nothing called part space which is really born. It is all only Upadhikrita. And similarly, also it is the tainting part also it is talked about, like even in the Gita, correct? The part space cannot be tainted by whatever is there in the part. Similarly, the body mind sense complex may be undergoing certain karma, correct? This particular body mind sense complex itself is there only due to a particular karma, but the Atma itself is not subjected to any karma. There is no Papa Punya, there is no Dvita, even though each karma, any karma we do sankalpa, mama upatta, samasta durita kshayartham and all we say, correct? All the accumulated Papa, Durita, we want to destroy. But the only way to destroy it is what? Not by any amount of puja, upasana and all you can do. which is okay to prepare yourself. But the only way you can finally get rid of all the accumulated karma is to know that you are not even a karta. You are not a karta bhokta. You are not in any way connected to that. Understand that. So that is the only way. In fact, it is like you are swimming in an ocean and suddenly you find there is no real ocean at all, correct? There is nothing there. Everything is, it's all only a dream ocean. Maybe you woke up. So it's like that. Clear? So it's got no reality. So continuing here. Karakadi nimitta kameva yatha karakambara nama bhaved viyataha paramatma drisherapi nama tatha purahetu kameva tu jiva iti. Okay, so another thing is what you say, there is one Paramatma, but then there are n number of Jivatmas are there. Different names, different forms. There is Devadatta, Yajnadatta, whatever, any other names you can add. Okay. And different beings also, not only human beings. All these names and forms are there. Means that also is answered now using the same space analogy. Karakadi nimittakam eva yatha karakambara nama bhavet. So karakambara means what? Ambara again is space. Karaka is another word for a container. Okay, it can be called a pot or a mug or a jug or whatever. Okay, it is a container. So the space in a particular container gets its name. Small pot space, big pot space, or vessel space, whatever, tumbler space, bottle space. So many different names are there, correct? All these names are not really names of the space itself. It is all based on the container, correct? It is all based on the name of the container only. Karakambara nama yata bhavet. So like even all these container based spaces which are named after the containers, so they are all because of the name of the container only. Karakadi nimittakam. They are because of the containers only. Similarly, Paramatma Drishehe api. The Paramatma Drishe Drik. Drik is means the Drik is the Paramatma, the innermost subject, conscious being, which is the Paramatma only. And it is getting all these different names. Okay. So many names. But all of them are what? Pura hetukameva. Pura means really a fort. But this Pura word also, it's not Totakaacharya's usage, correct? Where does this word Pura comes? It comes in Gita also. Navadvare Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Karayan and all is there, correct? In the 5th chapter of the Gita. But Gita itself has taken it from Kathopanishad, we have to say. If you go to Kathopanishad, the Kathopanishad, I think it is 2nd chapter, 2nd Valli or something. In the beginning, it is there. Puram Ekadasha Dwaram. Like that it starts. This Puram Ekadasha Dwaram Puram, that analogy of the body as a fort with 11 gates, correct? It's coming from Kathopanishad. So Acharya also here refers to the Kathopanishad in one way, saying that the body, he is calling the body mind sense complex as a Pura, as a fort. And there are different Puras are there, correct? Different bodies are there. So all the names are all based on these different bodies only. Pura hetukameva tu jivaha iti. So each jiva is a different jiva, has its own name, personality, etc. All that are all only due to the body mind sense complexes, which are all the conditioning factors. Paramatma itself is the same Paramatma, only the names are different. Names are only names. Names have no reality. Understand that. Vacharamnam vikaro namadheyam rittika ityeva satyam. Like that Upanishad says, Sadeva satyam. So the Sadvastu alone is satyam, is the truth. All the forms which have some name, they are all only names, nama matra. In fact, if we analyze any name and form, you will get more and more names and forms. So my Guruji used to say, Namni Namani. So in each and every name, if you take rose. Aha, rose is a nice flower. But then what? More names are coming. There are rose petals, rose stalk, whatever you can think of. So many. I am not a botanist, but there are so many avayavas, parts within the rose flower, and each of them again you can take, and there are so many more things. Then the botanist will give way to some chemist. He will talk about all kinds of chemicals which are found within the rose itself, how you can extract that, make some fragrance, whatever. And then the physicist will come and talk about, no, it is all only all this atoms, molecules, atoms, particles, and all that. So more and more names within names. And finally, it has to come to a conscious being, correct? Without the conscious being, there is no macro world at all. So it is all only names and names and names, but all these names do not have any substance. That all physicists also know that. They all know that at the quantum level, in fact, the 99% plus is only space. And even that 1% also is only collapsed by the observer, they say. Otherwise, it is a transcendental wave. The physicists also talk about a transcendental wave. There is no real wave in the space-time. Understand that. The quantum wave equation is not talking about a real wave in any medium. It is a transcendental wave which collapses in the space-time and all that they talk about due to the observer. But they cannot define what that observer is. There is a lot of confusion is still going on. So, what I am saying is, the substance is only the consciousness for us. In fact, that is the difference between us and the scientists. For the scientists, the substance, they think that there is some matter and all is there, correct? In fact, among scientists also we have monists. They call themselves material monist. So the scientists they are also Advaitin in one way. What kind of Advaitin? But they are saying only the Jada Prapancha is there. Jada, they are all Jada Advaitin. Not, we say that this Advaita Vastu is Ekameva Advitiyam, but it is also Satyam Jnanam Anantam, correct? Vijnanam Anandam. That's what we are saying. They are saying, no, they are more like Sankhya, correct? Of course, Sankhya is a Dvaitavadi, but you remove the Purusha from Sankhya, that is the modern science, correct? They have only Prakriti, which is Jada. And they themselves, they call themselves monist also, some of them. They are called material monist. So only they are trying to find in matter itself the truth. But they are missing the elephant in the room, correct? Who is finding all these things? They miss because they are so concerned about objective truth and objectively studying things, they lose themselves in the objects, I think, correct? Who is the one who is actually studying all these things? They think that conscious being is really an epiphenomenon of matter. Okay, they say that there's nothing called consciousness. It is all only some kind of, for them, consciousness is just an appearance. See, that is why the Shastra is talking totally 360 degrees or 180 degrees, I have to say. The other way around. Correct? Shastra says consciousness alone is Satyam. The entire material world is Mithya, which actually which also corresponds to the quantum physics and all that to a large extent, correct? But still, that difference is there. There is confusion still there. But we have to understand that all these different names and forms and all that is all only due to the Pura Hetukam, the Upadi Hetukam. It's all due to only the conditioning factor There is only one reality. Further what? Janitam viyadagraniena jagat paramatma sadaksharanam abhrita pravivesha saeva jagat swakritam kamiveha ghatam ghata srishti manu. Okay. Now another thing also, this actually our Acharya is beautifully using this Akasha analogy further, because one of the teachings in the Shruti is what? That Brahman is the Jagat Karanam. Okay. But after creating everything, what happens? Tat srishtva tadeva nupravishat tadanupravishya sajjatyacha bhavat. All these things are there, correct? Tat srishtva tadeva anupravishat. Having created, it entered the world. Now, in fact, this entrance is there in all Upanishads. It's there in Aitareya Upanishad, it's there in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is there in Taittiriya Upanishad, like that. In so many Upanishads, this Pravesha Shruti is there. Sahya Pravishtaha, like that it is there even in Brihadaranyaka. I think 147. 147 Brihadaranyaka is Pravesha Shruti. So both in the Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya, Bhashyakara makes a big analysis of what this Pravesha is. Because normally if I say I entered something, correct? What is the implication of that? The implication of any entry is that you were not already there, correct? Then only you can enter. I entered a room means I was not there in the room first. Then I have to enter. Now, can that apply to Brahman? You say that Brahman is all pervasive. It is limitless. Then how can it enter? It cannot really enter anywhere, correct? It is already there everywhere. So he brings this argument. In fact, I am just presenting it to you in a very simplified manner. But that Bhashya is a huge Bhashya is there, because he takes all the different contentions of the different people who had held different types of views, correct? Even during his time, all those who interpreted the Shruti, they had different views based on their own Siddhanta. What this entrance is. But then finally he establishes that there is no real entrance. The entrance is taught only to show that the Paramatma is available. It is available in your buddhi. Because once you say something has entered, Bhashyakara says, the implication of that is it is available there. Correct? If I say I have entered the room, means you are available in the room, correct? So the Tatparya is not in the entrance itself. It is to show that it is available there. And so again, what kind of entrance it is? It is like the space, the Mahakasha entering the Ghatakasha, correct? Did the space really enter the pot space or into the pot? We can figuratively say that, correct? The limitless space, once the pot is created, entered into the pot and became the pot space. You can say that. But in reality, everything is in space only already. The pot itself was created in space. Similarly, the body mind sense complex and the entire Srishti is there in Chaitanyam only. But it is as though the Chaitanyam has entered into each and every Buddhi Guha. Correct? Each and every intellect, it is available. It is available as I. It is very I sense. If we analyze that, it is nothing but this Paramatma alone. This self alone is there. It's available. It's all the time available, in fact. But we miss it. That is the greatest tragedy. It is available in each and every cognition as the invariable. And we still miss it. And search all over the place. That's why you are a Kripana, like Gaudapadacharya said. You are a miser, you are searching, and you do not utilize whatever is there with you. Anyway, so this what our Acharya says here, Janitam Vyad Agrani. Yena Jagat Paramatma Sadakshara Namabhrita. See, this Paramatma, which is also known as Sadvastu or Aksharam Brahma. In fact, currently we are doing the Akshara Brahma, Akshara Brahmanam in Brihadaranyaka. Okay, Akshara. So, Naksharati iti Aksharaha, that which never declines or can never be destroyed. Okay, that is Akshara. It is unchanging reality. All these names are there. Namabhrita, with the one who bears all these namas, all these names. One who has all these names, Paramatma, Sat, Akshara. And then what? From that only, by that, Janitam, it is given birth to. What is given birth? Vyad Agrani, in the starting with Vyad onwards. Okay, Vyad onwards. Vyad again is another word for Akasha. So many words we have seen, correct? Vyad, Akasha, Kham, Nabhas. All these things are synonymous. Okay, it's all only space. So our Shastra is the one which talks about space as being created. Understand that. Space-time is created. And it is there in different Upanishads also. Tasmad va etasmad atmana akasha sambhutaha akashad vayuhu vayor agnihi agnerapah adhyah prithvi. So this akasha sambhutaha atmanaha, from the atma alone akasha comes forth. Okay, it is born. Janitam, that's what our Acharya here is pointing out. This Vyad, starting from Vyad, everything is born from this Paramatma, which is Sadvastu or Akshara. But having created all these things, what does it do? Pravivesha Sayeva Jagat Swakritam. Swakritam Jagat, the Jagat, the entire Sriti which is created out of itself. Okay, Swakritam. It entered that Pravivesha. What kind of Pravesha is it? Because like I said, Tat Srishtva Tadeva Anupravishat. So Anupravishat, Anupravesha Shruti it is called, or Pravesha Shruti. So even there in the Brihadaranyaka also, similarly, the Srishti only is talked about. Everything is in a potential state, undifferentiated state. Avyakrita is there, then it becomes Nama, Rupa, etc. Okay, it becomes differentiated into names and forms. And then it says Saiha Pravishtaha. That Brahman, which was in the form of undifferentiated potential, then became differentiated and entered it. Okay, and what kind of entry? Kam iva iha ghatam, ghata srishti manu. So ghata srishti manu, after the creation of the pot, how the space enters the pot, it is similar to that. So the entry is no real entry. That is the point here. There is no real entry or anything. As I told you, the Tatparya, the implication, or what the Shruti really wants to reveal through this entrance Vakya is that Paramatma is all the time available to you in your buddhi. It is all the time available to you. And you have to only recognize that. So the Pravesha Shruti also is here explained in terms of this Akasha analogy. Okay, continuing. Udapadyataka pramukham hi jagat Paramatmana ityapi ashrutayaha avadharyata abhirabhedamatihi Paramatma satatva samarpanataha. Okay. Udapadyata khapramukam hi jagat Paramatmanaha ityapi ya shrutayaha avadharyata abhihi abhedamatihi Paramatma satatva samarpanataha. Okay, here one important aspect of how we analyze the Shruti, okay, that is brought out by the Acharya, because this is very important. Lot of discussion is there on this also. See, if you take the Upanishads as a chapter in the Veda, what is their subject matter has to be first understood. So the Advaitins, the Vedantins, we say that the only subject matter of the Upanishad is to teach the Jivatma Paramatma Abheda. Okay. Abheda Matihi. The Acharya here uses the word Abheda Matihi. So to teach that the non-difference between the individual self and the complete total self, that is the intention of the Upanishads, of the Vedantas. Then the Dvaitin and others will come and say, then why does the Shruti talk about all this Srishti? Shruti is only the same Upanishad only is talking about Tat Srittva, Tadeva, Nupravishat, all these things, correct? Tasmad Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha. So why is it talking about, what is the Tatparya of the Shruti then? When it is talking about Srishti, when it is talking about creation, why should it talk about creation? Means that Advaitin has to say, even the creation is talked about only to teach you this Abheda. See, Abheda is the Tatparya, Parama Tatparya, you can say. Even the creation, etc., are only discussed to reveal the truth that this Paramatma and Jivatma are non-different. How can you say that? Since the Upanishad is talking about the creation of the world is real. So it is only teaching Dvaita. See, the Upanishad itself is saying the Akasha has come from Atma. Then how can you say that? Hey, Akasha has come from Atma. We don't deny that. The Shruti is even talking about Trivrit Karanam and all that. Even in Chandogya or Panchi Karanam we can say. And it is talking about how the whole Nama Rupa, etc. is there. But why is it talking about all these things? Because to show that Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Correct? Yatova imani bhuta nijayante ye najata nijivanti yat prayanti abhisamvishanti. Janmadhyasya yataha. Sutra also is there. So the Brahma Lakshanam itself in the Brahma Sutra, Vyasacharya does not start with the Swarupa Lakshana, correct? Swarupa Lakshana means we have to say Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Vijnanam Anandam, all these words which reveal the very nature of Brahman. But he talks about a Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana means to indicate something, you are not talking about that thing itself. Okay, you are using an incidental attribute, let me say. Put it that way, correct? You are using an incidental attribute to reveal something. You are not talking about the very nature of the thing to reveal something, but you are only talking about an incidental attribute. So what are the examples of these things? So you can say, you want to know which is Devadatta's house. Now, which is the Devadatta's house means what? You say, you see that house where the crow is sitting, that is Devadatta's house. Now, crow itself is not part of the house or anything, correct? It's not, it is sitting on the house, fine. That is good enough for us to reveal that house, correct? That's the idea here. It's only an incidental attribute, you can say. In fact, that attribute may not be there even now. You can even say Devadatta's house is the house where the crow was sitting. It's not even sitting there currently. But that is good enough to reveal something, correct? Or we even say Prakrishta Prakashaha Chandraha, whatever is. So on a Paurnami night, somebody is asking you on the full moon day, full moon night. Okay, they are asking you, where is the moon? What is the moon? Means what do you say? Whichever is the brightest is the moon. Okay. But the thing is, the brightest is the moon, fine. Will it be the brightest all the time? The same guy comes on the new moon day. And then what is it? He is not able to find. Moon's brightness itself keeps on varying. So it is again an incidental attribute only. In fact, moon, like there is an album called Dark Side of the Moon, correct? It is indeed dark. It doesn't really have any brightness of its own, correct? Moon doesn't have any brightness, really speaking, it is all dark. But we can still use that attribute to reveal what it is. So here, the Shruti talks about Srishti because it has to account for the perception of the world. Right? We are not denying the perception of the world itself. So how does it account for it? By showing that the world is an effect. And what is the cause of this world? The cause of this world is not pradhana or matter, like the scientists say or the Sankhya people say, correct? It is Brahman. Brahman is the cause of the world. Brahman is the Jagat Karana. Brahman is the conscious being, Ishvara, from whom this whole world is born, by whom it is sustained, into whom it resolves back into. That Brahman alone is the Jagat Karanam. But by becoming the world, by creating the world, what happens to Brahman? Does it change? Means that's where we have to understand Brahman is still avikritaha only. It is avyayaha. It is still the unchanging reality. That is what is called vivarta. It's not parinami. It's not like the milk has become curd. Means there is no more milk available to you. But it is vivarta. Means swarupa aparityagena rupantara apattihi, we say. Without giving up its nature, it has attained a new form, name and form and all that. So it was the same Brahman was avyakrita, undifferentiated potential, then it became differentiated and all this world, again it becomes undifferentiated. That is a cycle. So from this, what do we understand? Sadeva Satyam, Upanishad itself. Ontologically, we have to understand that whatever is the effect does not have any substance, any existence of its own. The effect is only a name and form. Vacharambanam, Vikara, Namadheyam, Mritika ityeva Satyam, Sadeva Satyam. So the whole Karana Karya Prakriya itself is only a teaching device. The Srishti Vakyas are all only a teaching device. They are deliberate superimposition, Adhyaropa it is called. And Apavada is done. It is negated as by saying Sadeva Satyam, Mritika ityeva Satyam. When you say that, their reality is negated. And they are accounted for also in that manner. Correct? It all becomes mithya. It is not even of the same order of reality. Only Sadvastu alone is there, and that Sadvastu Tattvamasi. It is you. It's not separate from you. It is in fact only you. That is the teaching. So what Acharya here is saying is Khaparamukam Udapadyatahi Jagat Paramatmanaha Ityapi Ya Shrutayah. So whatever Shrutis which are there, which say that the Khap Pramukam means again what another word he is using. Here he said Vedagrani. Khap Pramukam also means the same thing. Starting from Akasha onwards, Udapadyata, everything is created or it is all born from Paramatmana, from the Paramatma only. Correct? This entire Jagat, starting from Akasha onwards, it is all born from this Paramatma. Like this, whatever Shrutis are revealing to you, what are they really revealing to you? What is the purpose of that revelation? They are also what? Avadharyata, Abhihi, Abhedamatihi. Even those Shrutis also are only teaching you the Abheda, that there is no difference between the Jivatma and Paramatma. only to teach that alone. The Srishti Prakriya also is there. And so they are all only Paramatma Satatva Samarpanataha. Means they are all only to reveal that the Paramatma alone is the Tattva. Satatva here means if they are, Paramatma alone is Satyam. Sadeva Satyam, correct? To show that the Paramatma alone is really there. The entire whatever the Shrishtam Jagat is only an appearance, it is all only Nama Rupa. It's all Vidya. Only to show that, and through that again to show that only that there is no real difference between the Jivatma and Paramatma, Sadeva Satyam. To show that alone, all these Shruti Vakyas are there. In fact, the Shruti Vakyas do not have any phala separately. Understand? There is, because see, one of the principles of Mimamsa, our Mimamsa is the analysis, whatever we do, correct? Our hermeneutics and all, they use a word for that. Okay. The analysis of scripture in general is called hermeneutics. But we call it Mimamsa. There is a Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, and all that. But in general, we take all the principles of analysis from the Purva Mimamsa people only. So one of the principle is what? Any Veda Vakya has to have a phala. It has to have some purpose, correct? See, Veda is a deliberate means of knowledge. So it has to have what is known as phalavat artha bodhakatvam, we say. Whatever, each and every Veda Vakya should have some purpose, some usefulness it should have for us. Even if the Veda says Agni cried, okay. Now, how does it matter to me whether Agni cried or laughed or... But it says Agni cried and the tears became silver. Like this, there is one statement. Now, how do... It is there in the context of some yajna, correct? Veda is talking about a particular yajna, and that yajna has a certain phala that you will go to Swarga and all that. But in between it is saying this. Now, how do we interpret this? There has to be we have to connect it to something and have some phala for that also, correct? Then what do the Purva Mimamsakas do? They say that in this yajna, you should not give silver as a dhanam. You cannot, because in almost all yajnas, one of the angas of the yajna will be you have to give dana also. Dana is prescribed. You have to give either gold or this or that or vrih, whatever. You have to give dhanam, dhanyam. All these things you have to give to different people also, to whom you have to give, and all it is given there. So when they say Agni cried and it became silver, the tears of Agni means it points out that you should not give silver as a dana. Like that, they connect it with that ritual and arrive at a meaning. Similarly, this Srishti Vakya itself has no phala associated with that. What do I gain by knowing that, okay, everything came from Paramatma, starting from Akasha onwards? No, only the phala is given only for Brahmajnana, correct? Brahmavid apnoti param. Brahmavid brahmaiva bhavati. Atmavid tarati shokam, like this. All the phala, na bibeti kutascha neti. These are all there, okay? Anandam brahmano vidwan, na bibeti kutascha neti. So all the phala is only for knowing this Brahman. But why is the same Upanishad talking about Sriti, but there is no phala given there? Therefore, you have to connect that also to only the main teaching which has a phala. And we can connect it also. We say that the Srishti Prakriya is there only to account for the Srishti and show that the Srishti itself is Vidya, and thereby establishing the oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. Therefore, we have found a use for that utility by making it as a part of this main teaching only, correct? That's called Sheshatvam and all that. It becomes a Sesha, part of the original Vakya. In fact, that those things will come in the next verse also. In fact, the Purva Pakshi will bring all that, and Acharya will answer that. We'll see all that in next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
धन्यवाद।
Oh.